Happy 2024, everybody. We got the party shades on, but I hope you're enjoying the new year. We'll take them off here real quick. But in this video, we're going to talk about this year for the Nebraska Cornhuskers. Is this one of the biggest years for them in the program in general? We'll go over what the Huskers need to do in order for this to be a very successful 2024 and everything in between. So if you like the content, please hit the like button on this video along with subscribing to the channel. Really helps me out going into this new year. And again, we're going to have so many Nebraska football videos coming out this year. You're not going to want to miss a single one. But without further ado, let's start it off. So, man, 2024, everything it feels like is changing in college football. We see NIL ramping up. The conferences are all different. Nebraska bringing in a really loaded class under Dylan Raiola. A lot of things are just basically changing this year. I didn't even mention the college football playoff going to 12 teams. I mean, this is a completely different year of college football, and let's call it what it is. Nebraska is going to be playing in a completely different conference. This is about equivalent to when we moved to the Big Ten originally, when you're adding 4 new teams and changing up the whole way the conference is structured. Yeah, this is basically a new conference. So you got that going for them. You got the new playoff. You know, you could be a 2-win team and make the college football playoff. And then, of course, everything else that's going on with NIL, the transfer portal. This is a huge year, guys. And I say that this is a very important year for Nebraska. I know a lot of people are going to say, Wilson, you're overreacting. This is not that big of a year. It's just any other year. But when you consider everything that's changing, and when you consider that the Big Ten, of course, is adding 4 new teams, it feels like if Nebraska doesn't start to turn it around right now, they will never do it. Because you do not want to be on the back burner of the Big Ten for the next decade. And that's what it felt like when we started the Big Ten, right? Those first couple years when you joined the Big Ten, those dictated the last 10. And they did just that. So this year is going to be very important to establish ourselves as a contender, because if we don't do it this year, we may never with the way the Big Ten is trending. So first off, that's of the most importance, right? Establish yourself as a contender. Number 2, and this is big, again, Dylan Raiola. He has 3 years. This is a huge year to get his development off to a good start, make him feel comfortable in your offense, have him learn the playbook early on. Again, I want this dude to be quarterback 1 the second he steps on campus in January. And man, I'm hoping he has a good year. And he has so much expectations. I don't really want to add on to him, but we're talking about a guy who really should be a freshman All-American in Dylan Raiola. So you have to establish a good culture, a good team around him in order to have the best possible result. This is a big year for that as well. And again, Dylan Raiola goes hand in hand with success. Okay, you can have some good years without Dylan Raiola. Don't get me wrong, right? This is the first quarterback Nebraska's had in a long time, which gives them hope of being more than just above average, right? Dylan Raiola is an elite quarterback. Okay, and I've already talked about Dylan Raiola a lot, but this is a guy who can be a first-round draft pick, be a Heisman guy, right? And again, lofty expectations for a freshman. We have to see it first. I understand that, but that basically tells you the story for Nebraska. You need him to go out there and succeed early on in order to turn around your program. That's what Matt Rhule is looking for. That brings me to my third point. We talked about the Big Ten. We talked about Dylan Raiola. This is a huge year for Matt Rhule. Okay, if you have already forgotten the ending to 2023, it was not very positive. 4-game losing streak. We were sitting there at 5-3, had 4 games left. They were easy games. A struggling Michigan State team, a struggling Maryland team, a Wisconsin team that we had no business losing to, and then the same deal with Iowa. And we lost all of them in horrendous, heartbreaking fashion, one by one, just like what we saw for many years under Scott Frost. And it left the fan base basically questioning Matt Rhule and saying, is this really the guy? And granted, all of those concerns instantly went away like we like to do as Nebraska fans, because the offseason rolls around and we make a bunch of moves. We may get a bunch of recruits, and then we're all like, oh, we forgot all about the negatives that happened the year before. But yeah, there were some bad things under Matt Rhule. And he needs to regain the trust of the fan base, because I'm going to tell you right now, if you go out there and you lose to Colorado, the second game of the year, all the fan base can think about is, oh my goodness, I totally forgot how much I mistrusted this guy and how he kind of screwed the pooch last year. He might do the same thing this year. You cannot afford to lose to Colorado. You're going to hear all offseason long, guys. Nebraska, can they start 7-0? We have a very easy 7-game start to our season. We're talking bad team after bad team after bad Big Ten team after bad Big Ten team. It's very doable. Do I think we're going to go 7-0 to start off the year? I don't know. I'm not going to sit here and say that right now, because, again, you're going to hear that storyline all offseason long. I'm not going to beat a dead horse or beat a horse that's about to be already dead. But this is a big year for Matt Rhule, man, because The first year, you can basically do whatever you want. You're playing with house money, especially in a rebuild situation. You're playing with house money. You can do as poorly as you want. You're safe. Okay. The second year is when it starts to get a little dicey. Okay. You can still sell recruits a vision no matter how bad you did that first year. You can still sell them, hey, we're working on a process. We're going to change this thing around. Okay. However, if there's no results in year two, you can no longer sell that to the recruits. You can't say, oh, we're still building things. The recruit's just going to look there and say, hey, you've done nothing the last 2 years. How am I supposed to believe you? It's way easier to believe that message when it's only a one-year situation, right? And not only does this apply for recruits, this applies to the fan base. Again, it's harder to believe in a rebuild when they're 2 years down the line, you haven't seen anything. So, again, big year for Matt Rhule. And this, again, it's a big turnaround year. Everything changes, man. Everything changes. So my last point, again, number 1, Big Ten. Number 2, Jim Raiola. Number 3, Matt Rhule. And number 4 is NIL and everything else in between, transfer portal. Matt Rhule has been talking about building this the old school way, folks. And I am all for it. I really like that. I think that builds a sustainable program. Okay, transfer portal is nice. You look at Ole Miss right now. Ole Miss is going crazy in the transfer portal. I don't think Ole Miss will be in national contention next year. I don't believe in Ole Miss. And I'll tell you this, if Ole Miss is good, it's a one-year wonder because they aren't doing the same thing in college football, high school recruiting. Okay, high school recruiting is where you build a program. Transfer portal is a bunch of quick fixes. You hear the same thing in the NFL, right? The draft builds a team. Free agents just fills a couple holes. Same way Matt Rhule's got to approach it. So basically, this is a kind of a prove-it year, though, because he's went about this old school way of building it. This is a prove-it year to say, hey, you're doing things the right way, because there are programs who are using the transfer portal a lot more aggressively and figuring things out. We saw Mike Elko and Duke do it this year. We saw, we saw Missouri do it. Missouri's turning around their program left and right. So there are examples of guys and programs who are turning around very quickly under the transfer portal. We also see programs who are turning around quicker than Nebraska, who are going the old school route. Number 1 example, Northwestern. And I was thinking about making this my own video, but I guess I'll just talk about it in this video. I am very frustrated with us compared to Northwestern. Northwestern was terrible last year. They were 1-11, only when coming to us. This year, they won 8 games. What changed? Absolutely nothing. They didn't attract the transfer portal. They didn't get a really good class. The only thing that happened was that their coach got fired because of some stuff off the field, and they basically got 2.0 over their old coach. Okay? You want to know how they won games? They took advantage of their easy schedule. Nothing else changed. It's that easy in college football. How can Northwestern do it, but Nebraska can't? We're more talented than Northwestern. And I always say this, and I don't want to go on a tangent here, right? But I always say this. You win games because of 2 reasons. 1, talent. We have more talent than Northwestern, or coaching. And let's be real, Northwestern is the better coach program, and that's why they won 8 games and we did not. So, again, it's a prove-it year for Matt Rhule, prove-it year for the transfer portal philosophy. But this is a big year, guys. Again, everything is changing in college football. If we want to talk about Nebraska, nice, but everything's changing for college football. 12-team playoff is going to be unreal. Personally, I'm not a big fan of it. I want to know what you guys think about it down below. Again, the new conferences, not only the Big Ten, but the SEC is changing. The Big 12 is looking very different. The ACC is going to look very different. And it might even have some more shuffling coming up in January with Florida State looking to get out of there. So we'll keep you guys updated on all that, but this is a big year, guys. I want to get out of here, help you enjoy your New Year's. There's a lot of good football on, so I won't have you here any longer. So let me know in the comment section what you think about 2024, what you're looking forward to, if this is a really big year for Nebraska or you think maybe I'm overreacting. But make sure to leave a like on the video. But as always, folks, go Big Red, go Matt Rhule. See you next one, everybody.